Welcome back to the IBFP. Here's your host, Boxing New.
Welcome back, fight fans. Welcome back. Let's just dig right into it. Who's the biggest threat to Canelo Alvarez as of right now? So let's just break it down. And before we break it down, we just want to explain that, when you look at Canelo Alvarez, he's an elite level fighter. And I don't believe anyone at this point in his career should be favored to beat Canelo. Anyone in and around his weight class, any weight class that he's competing at, 160 or 168, I just think Canelo Alvarez will pretty much beat anyone in any weight class. So we're going to go through and see who has the biggest chance of upsetting Canelo, who has the best chance of giving him a great fight. And let's just break it down honestly and objectively. And we start with Jermall Charlo. You see Jermall Charlo facing a guy like Matt Korobov. We finally got to see some of his skill set on display. He was pushed to his limits by a guy like Matt Korobov. Matt Korobov's not an elite level fighter. He's not a special fighter with a lot of different tactics. So the fact that Jermall Charlo was looking very basic, the fact that Jermall Charlo got a gift decision over Matt Korobov and refused to rematch, that says a lot about how good Jermall Charlo is. His inability to make adjustments, the fact that he was able to get hit so easily, and also the fact that Jermall Charlo was headhunting so much in that fight exposed a lot of vulnerabilities against a guy like Jermall Charlo. And Canelo Alvarez, who has elite level defense, would most likely counterpunch him all day. And then you see a guy like David Benavidez, a special talent, a guy at 168 pounds, already an established world champion. So you give David Benavidez a good shot, but the reason why he's not going to be Canelo Alvarez's biggest threat is that his lack of experience. He's so young and he's nowhere near his prime. And I think all of those things with experience, prime, all of that is going to add up in Canelo Alvarez's favor, and David Benavidez just not ready for that type of fight, especially against a guy like Canelo Alvarez. And then you see a guy like Joe Saunders, his most recent fight against Marcelo Esteban, and he basically in that fight, he got the stoppage win over Esteban, but the problem with that was Joe Saunders was so easily able to get hit. He was hit multiple times during that fight. He was not looking, extremely fast or showed any impressive skills. And this is a very basic up and down pressure fighter who brought the fight to Joe Saunders. And and if he had some serious power, he probably could have hurt Joe at some point if he had accuracy. If he had any of the intangibles that Canelo Alvarez would bring to the table, Joe Saunders could have potentially got stopped in that fight. So let's be honest and unbiased. Joe Saunders will not be Canelo Alvarez's biggest threat and challenge. And then you move on to a guy like Callum Smith. Callum Smith is very long, tall, powerful, world champion at 168. And he fought John Ryder in what was a showcase fight. And yet John Ryder put on a great display, brought the war to Callum Smith, and Callum Smith ended up getting a gift decision over John Ryder. Pretty much everyone can agree that Callum Smith got a gift decision and John Ryder was robbed. They should be looking at more of a rematch at this point. Callum Smith would not be Canelo Alvarez's biggest threat. And then you get to a guy like Booga Andre, who has a variety of skills, who's a very special fighter, but who lacks the experience against elite level and top level fighters to be considered the biggest threat to Canelo Alvarez at this point. Even Andre was dropped by a guy like Vanes Martirosyan at 154 pounds. Imagine if he's in there with Canelo Alvarez and he gets dropped. He would likely get finished. And let's keep it going. And the reason why I think that Caleb Sweet Hands Plant would be the biggest threat to Canelo Alvarez is that he can box, that he can punch. He's right on the cusp of his prime. He's a special fighter. He knows how to use his height and reach advantage. He knows how to box with the guy, and he also has sneaky power. He's one of the most underrated boxers there is. Caleb Plant is a problem at 168 pounds. He's a sitting world champion, and he beat a very strong power puncher in Jose Uzcategui. And you see that Caleb Plant is going to be no pushover for any champion. He's going to be a very difficult fight for any champion, and I believe he would, give Canelo Alvarez the most problems because of his skill set, because of his power, because of his age, because of his experience. I would give Caleb Plant the best chance at upsetting Canelo Alvarez, but at the same time, I still pick Canelo based on his skill set and what he brings to the table. Canelo Alvarez is still, in my opinion, leaps ahead. But once again, unbiased as always, it's the IBFP.